Hey everybody, Aaron Fitt, Kendall Rogers with you, previewing week 3 in the college baseball season. Kendall, always great to be with you here via the internet. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing pretty good. I noticed you're not at the Atlanta airport, so that's a positive.
Yeah, we're making progress here. We're making progress. Direct flight today.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, look at that. Kendall, let's dive right in here to the mashups in week 3. There's some neat stuff on the schedule. I
Yeah,
think highlights this weekend, though, are the tournaments, the big tournaments. We've got a lot of them. Um, I know the Big Ten and the ACC are getting together up there in
yeah.
Minneapolis. You got Duke, NC State, North Carolina, tangling with 3 Big Ten teams up in the dome. So that'll be fun. And then you've got Frisco Classic, of course, where I'm going to be this weekend. Um, Great field at the Frisco Classic: Texas A&M, UCLA, Illinois, and Oklahoma State. So, and of course, you're going to be back in Houston for the Shriners.
Yeah, and then the weather in Texas is looking great this weekend. I think it's supposed to be in the mid 70s. Like was it like a week and a half ago? It was looking like it's going to be pretty cold. But Aaron, looking at your tournament real quick, UCLA after allowing 2 runs last night against Pepperdine has given up 7 runs in 8 games. We talked earlier in the week in our podcast rankings podcast about just how good UCLA's pitching has been. But you look at the way they're pitching, you look at the way A&M is hitting. A&M's hitting around 350 right now as a team. They hit about 225 to 230 as a team last year. So that clash, which is expected to be a sellout over the weekend, should be exciting, along with Oklahoma State and Illinois in that field as well.
Yeah, a lot of interesting things going on there in Frisco, and I'm looking forward to seeing if Zach DeLoach can keep up this torrid pace for the Aggies. I'm looking forward to getting a look at all these exciting freshmen and
Yeah.
JUCO guys also for Oklahoma State. They got a lot of exciting new guys, and Illinois got talent. Garrett Acton with the huge arm and a lot of nice pieces around that. So it'd be a lot of fun in Frisco. I'm excited to get some good weather this year. Kendall, let's talk about the Shriners. So what are you most looking forward to down in Houston this weekend?
Well, obviously, when you look at the showdown between LSU and Texas, obviously last year, if you remember back early in the season, back when Texas was playing really well, they swept LSU in Austin. Honestly, kind of dominated them a little bit. So that ought to be an outstanding crowd. I think the Astros told me a while back they're opening the club level. They expect that to be mostly full. So if that's the case, 20,000 plus people. They're bringing in extra beer for the LSU fans. So that should be a fun atmosphere. Be interesting to see if LSU can answer some questions. I know their fans have a lot of questions about the offense, but the pitching's been brilliant so far. And of course, Texas, undefeated right now with the Longhorns. Haven't really played anybody, so we'll see how they do this weekend. And I also think you look at the rest of that field, such as Oklahoma with Cade Cavalli, Levi Prater. Man, Oklahoma has been exactly what we thought they'd be so far this season. But how do they do against kind of the SEC big boys this week? And that's really, really intriguing to me.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always a lot of neat storylines down in Houston for that tournament. Kendall, there's also a couple of neat series around the country. Of course, Clemson, South Carolina, traditional traveling series is this weekend. Not as much intrigue there as usual. Neither team is ranked, but Clemson, kind of like UCLA, has pitched at an extremely high level. They've only given up a handful of runs, and they're
Yeah.
undefeated. They were undefeated until this
Yeah,
week.
Davis Sharp has given up a run in 12 innings so far.
Yeah, and Sam Weatherly moving into that Friday role has been awesome, which
Yeah,
was key for them. South Carolina, even though they lost the series to Northwestern this past weekend, they actually pitched really well. I mean, they got good
yeah,
starts. The rotation looks great with Carmen Majinski
yeah.
and Brett Terry, and then they moved Brandon Jordan into that starting role. I think they're still pretty formidable. They just they need to hit a little bit more, and the bullpen coughed up a couple of games there. But I think that's actually a really interesting series this weekend.
It is because I think you hate to talk about this early in the season, but let's say South Carolina loses that series, you lost the non-conference series to Clemson Northwestern. It really kind of lessens your margin for error in SEC play. And as you look at the league right now, I mean, you're thinking a 500 record in that league right now is looking pretty good.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely right. I mean, it's not going to be easy to get 500 in the SEC this year. And then Georgia and Georgia Tech, Kendall, they're doing a traveling series in the same
Yeah, same
spirit.
style.
Yeah, which I think is long overdue. I
Yeah.
wanted to see more teams do this. I think there's a lot of natural in-state rivals that could follow this example.
Hmm.
But this is going to be fun also. I mean, Georgia, of course, an elite pitching and defense team, maybe the elite pitching and defense team, if you ask me, in the whole country. And Georgia Tech's offense has been great. They've also pitched pretty well, with Jonathan Hughes and Courtney Roding leading the way. I mean, they got arms too, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Georgia Tech is, I know that they're a younger team in the lineup and less proven on the mound as well, but there's a lot of talent on that roster.
Yeah, and Georgia Tech has already been tested this year. Last weekend they get Ohio State, a team that we hold in pretty high regard in the Big Ten this year. And honestly, they made pretty easy work of the Buckeyes. So really intrigued to see how that series goes. Out west, Aaron, there's another really intriguing series. A series that, quite frankly, coming into the season, I would not have circled as one of a more intriguing Week 3 series. But Long Beach State and Mississippi State once again without JT again. But Long Beach State, it's almost like one of those teams we keep waiting to lose, but they whip up on USD in midweek action after sweeping Wake Forest last weekend. Do you think Mississippi State can slow down the Dirtbags?
I'll tell you what, we talked about on the video last week about how it seemed like maybe a little bit of a dangerous setup for Wake Forest, going there, an offensive team going out there pitching in the Marine layer. And they can pitch. I mean, they did that without Adam Seminaris, and who was their Friday starter, who was out last weekend. He's back now. They shut down Wake Forest for 3 games, and that's one of the best offenses, most talented offenses in the country. You worry maybe Wake's a little one-dimensional, but I do think Mississippi State has a more versatile offense. You would think that Mississippi State, given their experience, their Omaha experience, they've played in that big ballpark out in Omaha and done pretty well. I still feel like Mississippi State is clearly the better team than Long Beach, but it's remarkable what Long Beach has done. We talked about it repeatedly now. They went 14-41 last year, and now they're sitting pretty here. What are they, 6-2, something like that, with wins over series wins over Cal and a sweep of Wake Forest.
Yeah, and all the guys that Eric Valenzuela pointed to in the fall that were big risers from, like Alfredo Ruiz, they've all been outstanding so far this year. So, we'll see if Long Beach can keep it up. But just some word of advice for big-time offensive teams: do not play a series at Blair Field.
Yeah, it's a trap. Well, I think that's all we got time for today. There's some other neat series to keep an eye on. If you're looking for something under the radar, UC Irvine goes to Washington. Pepperdine cross-country to FIU, which is a neat matchup between teams that have started pretty hot. Gonzaga, another West Coast Conference team, traveling to South Alabama. That's a matchup between preseason conference favorites of the West Coast Conference. Well, actually, I think we picked South Alabama to finish second, but they're right there with Coastal. Maryland's off to a good start. Kendall, they're at Coastal Carolina. And how about, your frisky Matadors of Cal State Northridge,
which that
on the site this week? They get to go and face another upstart across country, UCF, on the road. So that series is interesting too. There's a lot to watch this week. Hope everybody enjoys Week 3 in college baseball. We'll do it again next week. Thanks for watching.